Hi y'all, welcome and welcome back to this video, which is an introduction to Aristotelian virtue ethics, the pursuit of character, wisdom, and human flourishing. A new ethical question. So our study of Aristotle and virtue ethics changes the question from what should I do to what kind of person should I be, focusing on being rather than just doing. We already studied consequentialism, which is asking what should I do. We studied deontology, which also asks what should I do, but it focuses on what is my duty. With virtue ethics, we're focusing on what kind of person should I be. Now, something I want y'all to note is that just because we studied these theories in this order, it doesn't mean they occurred in this order. As you know, Aristotle came way before Mill and came way before Kant. So, Aristotelian virtue ethics and virtue ethics themselves existed a long time before consequentialism was established in the form of Mill and Bentham, and before Kantian ethics were established. Historical context. Aristotle lived during Greece's classical era. He was alive from 384 to 322 BCE. He was a student of Plato and a teacher of Alexander the Great. Aristotle founded his school, the Lyceum, in Athens, and he also wrote the Nicomachean Ethics. He saw ethics as a practical philosophy on how to live well, and the Nicomachean Ethics remains the foundational book that teaches that ethics does aim at being good and living well. Aristotle taught that virtue is the path to a flourishing life. The aim of ethics, eudaimonia. Aristotle thought that every human action aims at some good, and he concluded that the highest good is eudaimonia, which is intrinsically valuable and uniquely human. Eudaimonia is not mere happiness. Instead, it means flourishing through virtuous, rational activity. The human function and reason. For Aristotle, the human function is rational activity. Living well means reasoning well and harmonizing intellect and emotion through virtue. So he thought that everything has a purpose, which is a telos, and that the human telos is rational activity. He thought that it was reason that distinguishes humans from other animals, and the good life equals the excellent use of reason. Virtue is character and habit. So, virtue, or arete, to Aristotle is equal to moral excellence. And the way that we get to moral excellence and to become a virtuous person is that we have to practice and we have to habituate ourselves. He thought that we become just by doing just acts. So we have to practice at becoming a virtuous person. Aristotle thought that there were three types of people: incontinent, continent, and virtuous people. Incontinent people don't know what the right thing to do is, and they don't care. Continent people are people who want to do the right thing, but they don't know what that is. And virtuous people are people who know what the right thing to do is, and they do the right thing. Moral education and moral exemplars. For Aristotle, moral education is lifelong, and it's something that takes place every day through our daily lives. He thought that we learn by imitation and experience. He thought that we learn from moral exemplars. These are people of outstanding character whose actions show what virtue looks like in practice. So those moral exemplars are modeling virtue for people who have not yet become virtuous. An example of this is in The Good Place, where Chidi acts as a moral guide for some of the other characters, especially Eleanor. The role of emotion. So, Aristotle thought that emotions are central to moral life. They help us to notice what matters, and they help us to motivate us to do the right thing. He thought that true virtue is going to unite reason and emotion, and this is how it works. So, Aristotle thought that it's through reason that we figure out what the right thing to do is. But for him, that's not enough. If you're actually going to be an ethical person, you have to know what the right thing to do is, and you have to actually do that thing. And that's where emotion comes in. Aristotle thought that it's through emotion that we're motivated to actually do the right thing. So that's why, for Aristotle, moral wisdom combines emotional and rational maturity. The golden mean. So Aristotle's golden mean teaches us that virtue lies between excess and deficiency. So virtue is the balance between extremes. Excess and deficiency are vices, but that mean between them, that's virtue, and that is determined by reason. A few examples are courage is the virtue that is the mean or midpoint between rashness and cowardice. Generosity is the virtuous midpoint or mean between wastefulness and stinginess. Practical wisdom, or phronesis, allows us to judge well in context, uniting knowledge and sensitivity to act rightly in any given situation. So practical wisdom is the virtue of moral discernment. It means knowing what the situation requires. It combines reason, experience, and empathy, and it guides all other virtues. So in your Aristotelian analysis, you're always going to have to include the step of considering practical wisdom. Making moral judgments. For Aristotle, the right or morally correct act is done knowingly, for its own sake, from a virtuous disposition, in the right way. So moral life is a thoughtful practice. Strengths of virtue ethics. Virtue ethics emphasize character and lifelong growth, not just focusing on act by act. It integrates reason, emotion, and community. Virtue ethics are flexible and they're human-centered. They connect morality with happiness and meaning. Challenges to virtue ethics include the fact that virtue ethics systems lack clear rules for dilemmas. They require good upbringing and education. Virtues vary across cultures, and flourishing may depend on luck or privilege. For Aristotle, ethics is about growth and self-cultivation. To live virtuously is to live well, and to live well is to flourish. So remember that for Aristotle, morality is a way of life and not just a list of rules. Flourishing means living rationally and living virtuously, and ethics is about becoming a good person. Reflect on what flourishing means to you. How does character shape moral life? Think of someone you admire. What virtues do they show? Consider how emotions and balance guide ethical decisions in your own life. So, here are those reflection questions for you, asking about living virtuously. What does flourishing mean to you? Who's a moral exemplar in your life? Can emotions help or hinder ethical action? Give an example from your life. Where do you see the golden mean in everyday choices? All right, y'all, that's all for now. If you're interested in more videos about virtue ethics, or philosophy, check out the videos posted on our channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.